Heyo! Welcome back to Thoughts and Opinions Are Our Own. I'm Kirk.
And I'm Jordan.
Jordan!
Yes!
How are we doing today?
We're feeling good. We're feeling strong.
Are you feeling strong, my
I feel
friend?
like a champion out here.
Champion, yes.
We are the winners.
We are the champs. There you go. Jordan,
yes.
Today I thought on our pod, we would talk about a subject that here in American culture obviously is important, but really
Sure.
a lot of different countries throughout the world. This is also an international topic and a
Ooh,
subject. Yeah, that a lot of people have backgrounds in.
Going a little different.
Yeah, so
It's not our usual Christian
we're trying to reach the masses on this one, but sports.
Ah, yes.
Sports,
ESPN, NBA,
athletics, yes, the NBA, NHL, tennis, golf, swimming, Olympics. So I know both of us obviously are very involved in sports and athletics.
Yes.
We both have, obviously backgrounds as kids growing up and playing sports. But I thought we'd talk more about you.
Yay.
And so I'm just going to, yes, there you go. I'm going to ask you some questions.
That's right.
So, some of your sports stories that you have growing up as a kid, and then also like what you've learned, like as an athlete, and then what you've observed, obviously from
my experiences.
Yes, your experiences.
Sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. So start us out, obviously chronologically, growing up.
Sure.
Here in Michigan, what do you remember like from early on, like in terms of athletics or sports as an athlete for you?
Yeah, I remember, I don't know, being maybe 3, 4. I remember watching Irish step dancing or river dance on the TV.
Yeah.
And I remember mom saying, like, is that something you want to do? Because I would talk about it a lot. And I just loved, like, the costumes and how colorful they were and how bright and sparkly they were. And I loved how, like, the shoes sounded on the hardwood floor.
Right.
So me and my sisters, we did Irish step dancing for a few years. I think it was like when I was really, really little. I remember there were 2 dance studios because I think the dance studio I was at, it grew. So we went from one location to the other, and then we did a lot of recitals, and then we did a little bit of competitions, and then I have little shirts that have my name on it. Aww. So for those people who are like, what was it like? Very similar to Dance Moms, okay?
Dance Moms, the TV show.
We didn't do the pyramid, but like you did know who was on top and you did know who was on bottom.
Oh, yeah.
So lots of time in the mirror, lots of stretching, lots of being compared to, the top dancer. And then the more involved I got into it, the more competitive it got. Not to stereotype, but those girls, the psychological, psyche, it's nuts. Like here you are, 7, 8, 9. I'm being a brat. And you want to win that trophy. I remember there was one time I messed up and I cried because I literally couldn't handle it. So then I took a hard look at my life at age 8 or 9 and I realized, you know what, maybe, my skill level just isn't there. Like competitively, I'm not there. Also,
so you were doing it more for fun.
I was doing it more for fun, more for social. I remember I made a lot of friends, and then something happened, and then those friends didn't want to talk to me about whatever. But I also remember too, it was a big deal going from like the soft shoes to like the hard shoes. And you couldn't touch the floor. Remember, you had to like carry me in.
I had to carry.
And we had the dance bags, and that was really fun. So then we switched to swimming, and my mom, Kirsten, believes that it is an important life lesson to know how to swim in case of emergency.
Well, for safety
if you're on a boat or anything, yes. So I really enjoyed it. Loved being in the water. So our idea was, all right, well, she stopped dancing. Let's see if she dances. Or she stopped dancing. Let's see if she can float in water.
Okay.
And it was really fun. I did enjoy it. But then, the competition with those skill levels,
So you were learning fundamentals of,
very basic stuff.
Yeah, but then you did those races.
Yep, then I did the relays. Unfortunately, I was that kid who literally had a hard time jumping off of the block, the swimmer's block.
Oh, at the beginning when they say swimmers take your mark. Yeah.
It was a physical and a mental block. So I think I had a lot of mental stuff going on I had to work through with sports.
God bless you.
But, I remember one time I didn't start off and the guy was like, are you sure? I'm like, yep. And I remember, of course, you're judging up your competition. There's 7 other swimmers, 8 of us. And I remember, the kids I beat out, they're like, she didn't even start on the block. So, I don't know. I was super fast. But then again, you're going like you see the other kids, you see how competitive they are, and you see how freaked out they get if they don't win, and how tough those parents are. And when I was swimming, it was right around the time of Michael Phelps. He was very up and coming.
Oh yeah, so yeah, for the Olympics. The Olympics.
When I did Irish step dancing, it was popular because of river dance. I was doing swimming when it was popular because of Michael Phelps. So I was doing sports when it was, or the sports I was doing, it was around a time where it was very popular. It was well known. Yep. But then with that, because like it's popular, then so many people want to do it, and then you have to win. And the people I was competing against, like they couldn't handle losing. Like there was a lot of pressure. There's also a lot of money too.
A lot of money in these sports. Irish step dancing, obviously, with like you said, with the dresses and the hair and the recitals
and the traveling
and traveling back and forth. Yep. And then obviously with swimming, yes, I'm sure they have different communities have different resources or economic backgrounds. Some can afford the nice pool. We had a really nice pool. We actually had a really nice pool, obviously for you.
And then they had a really nice like diving area too. Yes. And I really wanted to dive, but then no, I'm so glad I didn't because oh my gosh, those poor divers. I think I did water polo for a year or two.
I do remember that.
I was water the youngest one. Oh man, that was the worst like treading experience I've ever had.
Because you're treading water and swimming and then trying to shoot the ball in the net. Yeah.
I think I was like 11 and I was up against these 13, 14-year-old punks.
Okay.
I literally felt like the water was going above my head. I'm like, all right, it gets me out of the house. And then I go to high school, and then I do softball and volleyball. And for those of you who don't know, I went to 3 high schools in 4 years.
So say that again.
I went to 3 high schools.
You attended 3 different high schools
in 4 years.
So freshman, sophomore, junior season.
So that's like a year and a half at each school, right?
So a lot of transition there.
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Okay, so
there was so much.
Let's go back to freshman, sophomore year, the first high school. You said you were doing softball, volleyball.
Yep. So I did softball my freshman year. My coach said that if there was a JV and freshman team, I would have made it, and I just got lucky to be on the varsity team. I was like number 14 out of 14.
But you were on varsity.
I was on varsity, and he said I was the most improved, and I was like, okay, cool. And then the summer between freshman and sophomore, I did some of the like summer stuff with him.
Yes.
And then I was in right field, and he said I had a good arm, and he liked that I was left-handed. So then he was like, the girl that was at first base, she was 2 years older than me, and he was like, you're always going to be her backup, and by the time she leaves,
when she graduates,
I want
you could be first
baseman.
Okay.
So there was a game plan for me to slowly move up, and if I had stayed at that first high school, I probably would have been captain of the softball team.
Captain and maybe first base person. Yeah, okay, yes. All right.
So that was really fun. I remember there was a lot of conditioning in the fall, a little bit in the winter, and then springtime. It was so much running. I had a lot of fun. On rainy days, we would go inside. We did batting practice.
In the gym, right? Yeah.
And as a freshman, I think like if any freshman is out there listening, or if you're like, oh, like I should give advice to my freshmen, I highly say get involved in sports. Like it's a great way to like socially connect with people. It's a great way to kind of like find that community in high school.
Yes.
It's a good way for you to really get involved in like, okay, take pride in my school, take pride in my team.
Yes.
Take pride in my coach. Like if you're ever having a bad day, you can go to your coach or your teammates. So I really liked, there was this one senior captain. I really liked her a lot.
Did you feel like sports was important at that first high school that you attended?
No. Unfortunately, they kind of had like a losing culture a little bit.
Oh, no.
Where it was, they knew they weren't that good. And
in sports.
They were almost okay with it.
Oh.
It was almost like the heyday was the 70s. And
okay. And so you were there in the 2020
teens.
Yeah. Okay.
And
so sports really wasn't that important. Did you have a nice softball team?
The softball field was really, really nice. The field was really nice. So I think the softball coach, he really wanted he wanted the girls to feel like they were princesses. They were treated nice. Yes. He was very, very tough. But then he took good care of us because there were no boys. No boys were allowed. No. He's like, if any boy messes with you, you tell me and you tell your parents. So he was really tough. And then I remember there were a couple of teams we played against where I'm like, oh, okay. They have things worse off than I do.
Okay.
And I remember he said, there was one where their field was so bad. He was like, there's glass in the field. Don't slide on the ground at all.
So their field was not as nice as your field.
Yeah, it was really sad. So I'm like, oh, okay. So it really put things in perspective for me. And then sophomore year, I did softball again, and then I improved, and then I became most valuable player. So that was awesome. So it took me a year. So I went from the worst to the best. So
started at the bottom.
And now we're here.
Okay, here you go.
That was a nice little ego boost. So then by my junior year, I was like on fast track to like really own softball. I remember like people at school were like, "Oh, you're the softball girl. Like softball is your sport." I'm like, "Yeah." And then I did volleyball. That was really fun.
Yeah.
I really liked jumping and blocking. And I'm average. I wish I was a little taller, but I really like spiking again, being left-handed. That really helped the coach.
Okay.
Had a nice advantage. And then I tore my ACL. So then that took me out of playing sports for the next 9 to 12 months, according to the physical therapist. I remember that one of the hardest things I had to do was call my softball coach and say, "Hey, I can't play because I'm out for the season."
Okay.
And ironically, the volleyball coach was the softball coach's daughter.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And then they're like his nephew, so her cousin was one of the swimming coaches. Yeah. So it was like full of stuff. So because of the tearing the ACL, then I started to help out more of like a sports management thing.
Is this the second high school then, or?
Well, when I transferred to the my plan for the first high school was to just be the manager. So when I switched to the second high school, I'm like, well, I know a little bit of the game. Like, I can still help out with softball.
So this is your junior year.
My junior year, yep. So they were pretty good with varsity. So they were like, just go on JV. So you were rehabbing.
I was, and
being the manager,
softball manager at the same time for your junior year. Okay.
Yep, and at the
second high school.
Yep, and at the second high school, they had a much more winning culture.
Okay.
Like you had to win. A lot of the kids, like signing day for college of where you were going to sign and play sports, that was huge.
So when people go like D1, D2, NAIA.
I never heard like at the first high school, never heard like, oh, this person's being scouted. At the second high school, that was a hot topic.
Okay.
And I remember being in yearbook class and our teacher was like, Jordan, like we are doing signing day. Like I need you to take photos. I need you to interview these athletes. Like they're going here, they're going there. So yeah, that was a big deal. You would wear your shirt. The parents would come in like the whole afternoon. Everyone cheered. So that was a big deal. And I recently had the opportunity to go to that second high school. And
we were there the other night. Yeah.
And they've put so much more money into sports that like their equipment is bigger. They have like the special dome now. So 9 years later, like they've really invested in sports. So it's cool to see the progression of like
how back when you were there till literally a few days ago when you were there.
Yeah.
You're right. They had that really nice athletic complex. And I must have
even in the gym, like it looks like
yes.
I mean if you're
millions
there,
of dollars for even just
absolutely.
a high school athletic program. You're right. You're right.
And if you're an athlete, like what an awesome experience to have.
Yes.
So then I went to the third high school, and by the time I transferred, I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever.
So now this is your senior year.
This is my senior year. So I'm fully healed. I know my skill level competitively isn't as good as where it should be because I bounced around a lot, and then I was out for a year and a half. So I go.
What was the third high school like?
Oh, I mean, you're like winning every day. You're
coming in a champ every day. You're competing for state championships.
Like there were kids that probably, I mean, they probably thought of like going to Olympics. Like this facility was the nicest facility I've been at.
Okay.
It was a kind of a brand newer school. So they didn't really have like, oh, the 1960s we won us. It was like, no, you're making history now.
Right. The school was like 5 years old. Right.
Correct. And they're like, no, we're going to states. Like there were sports I never heard of. I'm like, wait, what? I didn't know you did this. And instead of like going like, oh, we're only going to focus on like being recruited in Michigan, they're like, no. Like I'm going to Connecticut. I'm going to Chicago. I'm going to California. I'm going to Colorado. And like these kids were thinking big. They had this winner mindset.
Yeah.
But then it also kind of came of like the emotional mental cost because like if you lost like the next day, oh my gosh, like I remember.
So you can't lose.
Oh, you can't lose. No, like everyone barks at you. Basically let down everyone. You were like the big Superman hero and
this is for 16, 17, 18-year-olds. Like you can't let anybody down.
No.
You put so much time.
You let your parents down,
and
you let your
energy
girlfriend,
and
boyfriend
money
down, you let the president down, you let the principal down, you let the vice president down. You let your little dog down. No. And because like there were so many colleges recruiting like you had like literally money was at stake. Like you wanted to win the scholarship because you're also competing against like some kid from New York. Like you've never met them, but you can Google them and their stats. And this was right when social media was coming out too. So I know like you probably went on and like saw like, oh, like so-and-so is doing really well. You're like, okay, I have to compete against them if I want to go to this college.
So I mean, that's quite obviously the background, but it's interesting that you can tell different skill levels and different you said with the money, socioeconomic backgrounds.
That was like, it kind of messed with me because like here I am, like at the first high school, I'm like, oh man, we don't have much. Like we're going up against like really nice schools with nice stuff. But then I go to other schools and I'm like, okay, I don't have a lot, but I have a little bit more than other kids.
Schools. Okay.
And then you're like, I'm just playing for fun, but this person's probably playing to get.
Like you said, it's college scholarships. Yeah. So give us like 2-3 things that you learned where you are now, you know, in your 20s.
Sure.
About just playing sports. You know, what have you learned? What helps you get through the day? Have you taken any of these like life lessons from, you know, you say softball, volleyball, swimming, Irish step dancing? We teach tennis now to little kids. So I'm sure now you're seeing, you know, different kind of like some of the behind the scenes things. So what, again, a couple, 2-3 things that you can share with our listeners in terms of life lessons learned from sports and athletics?
Yeah, well, sports is very social. Yeah. I think I kind of touched on it earlier. I mean, if you want like to get involved somewhere, just look for your local rec and ed, your local YMCA. You can really connect and like find new friends. Like if you're moving, you're like, hey, like I'm really good at basketball, or I'm decent and I had fun at it, or, you know, I kind of know the game. Yeah, you can just like Google to see random stuff. Olympics, that's really big. So, I mean, socially, I mean, it brings the whole world together every 4 years.
4 years, yeah.
So it's really cool because, you know, like I said, like, you're competing like locally, then at a state level, and then at a very like national and then international level. So I think it's fun too. I mean, me moving, having that sport like background did help. Because even though I couldn't compete, like I knew a little bit of stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, I can help out with this person. Or, oh yeah, I can, you know, help with the stat. And then, you know, when you see those kids in the hallway, you're like, oh, hey, what's up? Or at lunch, you're like, oh, hey, how's it going? And then to see them be successful, you know, to see like, oh, hey, this person is being recruited. Like, it is really exciting. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit of hype. And you're like, okay, wow. Like, okay, it's cool to see them like with that natural talent that they have. You're like, wow, okay, someone's recognizing it. They are that good. To watch it, I mean, that's really cool.
Do you think if you would have stayed at one high school all 4 years, like that first high school, like obviously you would have become a really strong softball, volleyball player, but then at the same time, you wouldn't have had the other experiences that you saw from that second and third high school that you said had more money, had more resources, higher expectations. So, you know, I mean, obviously, I'm not that you're bitter about your story, but at the same time, because, you know, and now you are involved in the medical world where you see, you know, people come in for, you know, different athletes coming in for physicals or, you know, rehab. You used to be at that one place to rehab. And so, but do you feel like if you would have stayed the same, I mean, you would have developed those relationships even stronger from freshman year to senior year? And
yeah, I think it would have been awesome to be the captain and to work really well with the coach, like one-on-one. Skill wise, I probably would have been able to compete a little bit better. I don't know if I ever would have been like recruited or scouted. I knew I was good and decent, but I knew I would never be like college recruitment material. I think maybe if I was at high school number 2 or 3, maybe that would have been like an option, but at high school 1, probably not. I think it was also like the mentality of the community of the school too, like what sport's most popular, and unfortunately softball is not that popular. Football, basketball, tennis is kind of popular in some stuff. So softball didn't really get a lot of attention. Volleyball, it did get a lot of attention. So high school number 3, their volleyball team does very, very well now.
Yes.
So I think it's also a timing thing too of like, okay, what class has the most talent? Like here are these kids, they're up and then like it's also a personality thing too. Like these 2 players get along really well. Yes, I can play them together. Or these 2, they're in the same position, but you know, person number A is just a little bit better than person B. Person B can come in and sub while person A takes a quick breather.
When you're teaching tennis, like now for like you're helping with the kids, like in the summer on those Saturday mornings, like what do you try to bring in for Coach Jordan, Instructor Jordan? Miss Jordan is going to bring what, like 1 or 2 things?
Lots of fun, lots of energy, and then the very basics and fundamentals of the sport. Because like I don't know if I could ever like, I don't know, who knows what the future holds. Maybe I could coach an Olympic athlete down the future. But I mean, when you're 3 and 4, I mean, it is scary. I mean, you have 2 strangers like screaming on a Saturday morning at you.
Hit the ball with the net.
Exactly.
Hit the target.
And you're, you know, you look at your mom and she's like, yeah, like go for it. And there's like 7 other kids and 7 other parents. So I know it's very overwhelming. So if you're just super nice, and you talk about like Disney and princesses and superheroes, and then it also helps to bribe kids with ice cream too.
Well, I think that's good, because I think, especially again when you said like the little kids, if this is their first time experience on a tennis court,
you want it to be like
in a
very
pool,
positive,
or on the they used to playing a different sport. You try to make it fun for them, so that those very first memories. Yes, you're teaching them fundamentals, but at the same time that they'll have, oh yeah, I really liked tennis today. And then maybe I'll come back next week or next month or next year. And then as they get older, then you can challenge them a little bit. So
I think most athletes, like, they're like, oh yeah, I love the sport because they had a very positive like beginning
as a kid,
introduction to it.
Yes.
And those first coaches, I mean, you never hear about them. You hear like the season coaches that they've had for like 11 years. But I think those first coaches, I mean, they kind of get like unrecognized, but they're the ones that really introduced, like, it was a very soft launch, but hey, you're really good at this. It's super fun.
Yeah.
I like it. I hope you as a 3-year-old like it too.
Well, sounds like the inner Jordan did very well there.
Thank you.
You're when you're a 3-4-year-old, and now here you are again giving back to tennis. And
man, every once in a while I miss like playing a sport, and I think maybe if like the ACL thing didn't happen, maybe I could have like ended it, kind of get some closure. So maybe I should find that. But it is fun to like play around just for fun, or like talk sports at like work or church or with my friends and family, and just be like, oh, did you catch the game last night? Like,
yes, again, pop culture. Yeah,
it helps me escape the reality sometimes. If I'm being honest, if I'm having a not so good day at work, I'm like, oh hey, I have a game I gotta go to later.
That's right. And I know you've helped me obviously currently with, again, tennis, and now in the wintertime when I'm coaching my freshman boys basketball.
And I know it's not just me. Hello, Super Bowl, March Madness,
the Olympics. But like even recently the other night, you were doing my stats for me.
That's actually fun to do.
And it was fun. It's fun having you there on the sideline with me and my basketball team. And again, it's freshman boys basketball, but obviously, I take it very seriously.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And at the school you work at, you always have to win.
We have to win, of course.
It's a winning culture.
And so, but it's interesting. It's interesting to have, it's fun, obviously, but it's interesting now seeing where you are, that you can help me come to practice, come to my games, and be part of, my career in athletics. Well, all right. Well, that was full circle.
It was super fun.
Jordan, 3 and 4-year-old Jordan, all the way up to present day Jordan. Well, thank you everybody again for tuning in to our podcast. We hope that if you're not an athlete, but obviously, you could still tune in, and if you
can always join our tennis class.
You can join, but as an entertainment value, again, with the Olympics, with the Super Bowl, March Madness, I think that's obviously a popular time. Again, here in America and throughout the world, that even if if they're not an athlete, if they're not on a team, they can still enjoy just watching people like excel.
It's never too late. Like, some sports are like lifetime sports.
Tennis,
like
I think
swimming.
that's tennis definitely. And I try to tell that when I'm teaching the little kids. Tennis is a lifetime sport.
Whether you're 3 or 100, anybody can play.
And I really like that. One of the many things I really like that about tennis. So that's a
bonus feature right there.
It's never too late to get involved with sports. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. And hopefully we'll have a new pod coming up.
Rock and roll.